I feel the same way. Um, I feel like it's been too long though, dude, since we actually like fully connected, no?
Yeah, lots of things have already happened, and I'm just thinking about the first time we met. It's like 3 lives, 4 lives, 5 lives ago.
I think probably 5 for you, at least 2.5 for me.
I'm interested about what you say that, but it's great. I see. I'll take that as a compliment of
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
evolution
I
to
mean
happen.
that. Yeah, I mean that in the. Yeah, I think just watching, obviously, only seeing what you share, but from what you shared, I just feel like there's been so many evolutions, and that's why I'm so intrigued to bring you back onto the podcast, but also just connect with you as a friend and a brother. And I think we should just start right here if you're okay with it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's jam.
Yeah. So welcome back to the podcast, Francis Piche. My absolute pleasure to have you back, sir.
Hey man, it's great to be here.
Yeah,
Have
I
fun.
I have to admit something that has stuck with me since our last podcast, and I've borrowed it from you and repurposed it. And it's this. It was 3 words that you said to me, and they really, really stuck with me. And they
Oh,
were be, do, have.
big one.
And I'm gonna say one more thing, and I'm gonna let you go with this. Help me understand what those 3 words mean to you collectively.
That's a good one, man. Oh wow, thank you. Chills for
Mm,
me right now. I think at the time I had an understanding, and now I'm really understanding even to a deeper level. It's more of a knowing.
mhm,
So I'll just start with the seed of everything that you do. Everything is your being,
mm,
point blank like that. So what I mean is, because there's a lot of things that are. I mean, let's talk about how I used to say it and what's I guess the difference that I'm seeing right now. So be do have, or the society is really more about, hey, when I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna be able to do that, and therefore I'm gonna be happy, fulfilled, whatever. And that's the race. That's the whole race, and in that there's also another distinction that I made the mistake, and we can go back to that. It's kind of a side note at the same time, is that we're looking at a post of having. And I know I was guilty. So much of it was, I was never really happy in the race. I was never happy in the journey because I was just always looking at the gap. That's what's missing. That's what's missing. Side note number 2, there's gratitude story in this.
mm,
But let's say I'm just looking and chasing have, and I never get to this point, or if I get to this point, then I realize, oh, that was just a short-lived moment. And now I'm picturing another goalpost, and I'm still miserable in the journey. So now, there's a lot of things out there that it's about the doing, how to do this, how to do that. And it never addresses the being, which transforms everything. That's how you can be exponential. That's how you can. So I'll give an example to that. And it's a simple one, but let's say you go to Starbucks, and you go for a job, and they tell you, hey, here's what you have to do. You're gonna, every time someone comes in the shop, you're gonna say, what do you want? You're gonna say, here's your price, here's your change back, if it's not Google Pay or whatever, and have a good day. This is your doing. That's it. Okay, great. So then you have someone that comes in, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go through my list doing, hey, how are you? How are you? I'm not even looking at you. And yeah, okay, thanks. It's gonna be $3.50. Here's your change back. Have a good day. That's what I'm doing. What if I'm, hey man, Brad, how's it going? It's been a while. I've seen you. Hey, what do you want? As usual? Yeah. Oh, it's $3.50 for you today. Hey, here's your change back. What are you up to today? Just a latte for Brad, please. And then have a great day. Looking forward to see you again. Technically it's the same action, but it's very, very different. So where do you think most people will want to go? Scenario number 1 or scenario number 2?
mhm.
You know, they'll go to the place where they feel welcome, and so that's the creation of the being. So your being is really what creates everything. That's the seed. And if I'm looking for whatever I sow, if it's a seed of love, what type of actions am I going to do? It's going to be loving action, and then that's going to be an outcome that's going to be derived from that. And if I'm being impatient, then what's going to happen in my actions? And then what's going to be my outcome? So it is never, ever, ever about the doing. It's really about, who am I being right now? Am I doing something out of desperation, out of frustrations, out of, I don't have time for this? Or am I doing it in a different way of being? And that really what creates everything. So before, I knew that it was about the being, and now I just know that it's just about the being. That's the difference. Because I can see how I'm acting and my way of being, and really ask myself other questions like, who do I need to be to create a miracle today? Who do I need to be in a loving relationship? Who do I need to be to put my fear aside? Who do I need to be is really, and who am I being first? And then check that, and then, okay, who do I need to be? Boom, I do that. That's the biggest difference.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel that so much. And I know for myself, and probably true for you at times, feel free to interject if not, but for general population, they may drop into that being for a moment, but then life happens, air quotes for those of you that are just listening, life happens, and something externally, so the extrinsic, robs us of that being. And that's something that I work as hard as I can on recognizing when I'm allowing for something outside of me to impact how I am feeling or how I am being. And I'll give you just a quick example. I can turn on a certain song in the car and it will completely change my being. There'll be something about that music that speaks to me, whether it's I want to start dancing or I want to start singing the lyrics or something. And what I've come to understand is that being, that feeling, if you will, isn't conditional, meaning it's always in there. I can tap into it at any time. But for some reason, because of stories in the past and circumstances, either in my control or outside of my control, I believe that things outside of me need to be a certain way, like you were just saying. The extrinsic needs to be a certain way for me to show up a certain way. But what I hear you saying is, it actually all starts and ends inside of us intrinsically. Correct? Incorrect? Kind of right? What do you think?
Yeah, what I was about to say, can I add something? Now you're asking me,
Please.
so this is good. So when you said you're putting in music and you're saying it's not conditional, actually it is.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing.
Right.
It
Yeah,
is. But I'm
exactly.
saying,
Okay, cool. I get it. Beautiful.
yeah. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, to that point, I appreciate you asking that for clarity. What I'm saying is it doesn't need to be conditional, because that feeling of, oh my God, I want to move, I want to sing the song, make this quote unquote, this song makes me happy. No, that's always within us. All that I'm
Yeah.
allowing for is for that feeling to be set free because of a song. Whereas
Yeah.
what I challenge myself and others
Yeah.
who are open to it is to say, like you don't need to wait for, like we were just talking about, you don't need to wait for you to have something externally for you to be a certain way. That's always
100%.
within you. And
100%. Yeah.
the last thing I'll say on that is Michael Singer shares this in some of his writings. He calls it the river of joy, and he says the river of joy is within all of us. And he says it's just a matter of whether or not you feel like tapping into that. And he said, sure, for a lot of us, there are some traumas from our childhood that are over those rivers, but there are moments where we feel that joy. And he says that it is not conditional. It is consistently running through you, that river of joy. And that's how I get excited about that is, and I feel like I'm getting to a point through my personal growth, my personal journey in the quote unquote stuff that's on top of that river of joy is getting thinner and thinner and thinner, which is such a beautiful place to be. And I feel like
Absolutely.
not to say that you're quote unquote ahead of me on this journey of life, but I feel like your stuff, if you will, on top of that river of joy is almost diminished, gone,
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah. There's more. Yeah. They like unconditioned myself. I've unpeeled the onion,
Yes.
and there's no top on it. There's no top on the mountain. That's
Right.
like,
Right.
it's
Right.
like, you're like, oh, okay. So, and you're right. Like you're getting freer,
Hmm.
more fully expressed, and more empowered, meaning you're making more impact.
Hmm.
So, and I totally agree with you. I think I love Michael Singer, and yes, I think that. So here's a concept that I do with my clients, which I think is so powerful, and it thanks to my coach Gary Mahler that I spent 3 days and a half with him in last November. That really shifted me, and it was to find out what I call my source code.
Mm.
So what's the source code? The source code is everything that runs the show without me knowing it. This is all my paradigms, all my beliefs, all the filters that I have, all the self-limiting beliefs. And if I don't do anything, that's always going to run the show. And so until I find that out, it runs the show, then I find it, and then I can really authentically create from my choice of who I want to be, because now I'm aware of this. I can clean it, I can erase it, I can reset the code. And by the way, if I don't do anything about it for a little while, the corrupted code comes back because it's been conditioned for so long. It's like, hey, he's not here. Let's go, guys. Especially if you're tired, it's going to come back. So you recreate yourself in your way of being. And now that becomes really authentic because it's a creation and it's not defined, like you said, by the external. And now what's a big thing that I've noticed myself, and now I fully get it too, is you're never your thoughts and emotions. I didn't really fully understand what it means, but what it means, going back to the source code analogy, is that when you don't feel like it, it's your code that's being running you. It's your default mode. Like it's something that happens, and then bam, based on your conditioning, based on your past reactions, there's a story, bam, this is it. I don't feel like it. I'm not going to do it. But it's not authentic. It's really just your conditioning. So your thoughts and feelings are conditioned. And I think that even with Michael Singer, when he said, I don't listen to my preferences, and I'm like, why would you not listen to your preferences? Because the preferences is conditioned. Now I'm getting it. I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. So really, you're asking yourself, okay, so aside from these thoughts and emotion, who am I? And who we are is really unlimited, and who we are is source of love and compassion, and it's not the stories we tell ourselves. And so I get it that now if I see a thought that's kind of somewhat negative and I feel it, I'm like, oh, that's probably not even invented. That's probably just by default. So what am I going to do with this? And that's where it's also exciting, because when you start to be in control of what's happening, you can make that conscious choice to decide who you need to be. And that's really authentic. That's a full self-expression of, instead of being run by something else. Like you're drifting naturally to a place. If you don't do anything, your boat's going in one direction. But you can choose to say, hey, hold on, like I'm going to change that. Like I'm choosing this. That's so empowering. And that's where you get more freedom, you get more power, you fully self-express.
Well, I feel like to your analogy, actually, not I feel like your analogy just reminded me of a kind of a humorous analogy as well. I heard the other day someone say the story of there's a cowboy, a cow person, I guess, cowboy on the back of a horse, and someone says, "Hey, where are you going?" And the cowboy says, "I don't know, ask the horse." And he said, "That's what most people are doing. We're just along for the ride." And I think there's almost this in pop culture a bit, there's this kind of sexiness to like, oh man, I'm just kind of riding the wave of life, whatever, where almost like the laissez-faire approach. But I don't know if that's truly authentic, because I believe in all of us there is a calling to do something or some things. And to what I'm hearing you saying, what I subscribe to myself is finding the ability or the awareness to tap into that and then just allow that to be your path. But you have to consistently course correct yourself, because things will be happening all around you, really challenging you. And I'd say this, when I say you, I truly mean myself, challenging you and myself to stay the course, because it's so easy to get triggered and get upset because someone didn't do something or because someone did something. And all of a sudden I'm back on that horse again, and I'm allowing this horse to just take me wherever he or she wants me to go. Whereas no, I'm the one in control. I control my experiences. I control what X means, where a lot of us just allow for, again, like you said, this, I'll call it the unconscious brain, to just take over. And all of a sudden, it's Monday, then it's Monday again, and then it's Monday again. And where have we gone in regards to truly serving that inner voice and that inner calling?
Absolutely, man. And please remind me to, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I think one of the big thing that makes a big difference in our life is how do we talk about ourselves, the inner talk, the inner narrative, your self-image, really. And we talked about it this morning, actually, in my group coaching. And I had a call with my coach even this morning, and we the whole week we talked about, where are you hiding, and what's the cost and why. And when you really pay attention and you take an inventory of every day, where was I hiding and why? And then you realize that you made a judgment about yourself. So this is your self-image, this is your inner talk. And I realized that I knew some of the lines of my code. So it's like the source code is like your software programming. And like I said, most people are trying to fix the end of the line. So you're changing your behavior, your action. So it's the doing world, as opposed to really go to the root cause of it. So even if you change the end of it, and if you're saying, I'm not good enough, but I'm changing the action, but you're running by, I'm not good enough, then it's still there. You might disappear a little bit of it for a time, but then, oops, you're going to start back to procrastination or whatever your strategy is. And because you haven't really addressed your source code, your root cause. And so what I've realized about me is that places where I was hiding is that I felt that I was a little bit kind of an imposter. And so if I feel like I'm an imposter, for whatever reason, because I could say I'm not there yet where I don't have $1 billion in my bank account, I'm not posting pictures on Instagram with a Ferrari and all of these things, which you can question if it's really authentic. Yeah. But, I see myself as not being there yet. And the other line that's really detrimental is I don't think I'm looking good. I'm afraid of not looking good. So if I'm not looking good, then my strategy could be that I'm hiding, I'm not procrastinating, I'm not there yet. It has to be perfection. It has to be this. And so then there's a huge cost of hiding. And there's a huge cost of also thinking that you're an imposter. And then you can ask questions, and I love Byron Katie for that. You kind of do the work. And you just say, how do I feel when I think that thought, that I'm an imposter? So, well, I don't feel really empowered. I feel like small. I feel I'm not expressing myself. It's costly. I don't feel good. And so who would I be without that thought? Like I love the question. That's a bonus for all of you guys. Like Mike, that was a brilliant, and you can steal it if you want. He said, what if you're incapable of thinking that thought? Like incapable, like Alzheimer, totally Alzheimer, like incapable. Not even there. Like incapable of thinking I'm not good enough, incapable of thinking you're an imposter, incapable of thinking that you're not looking good, whatever. Like that doesn't even occur. Like how would be your life without that?
I'm smiling like from cheek to cheek, because it's like, what a beautiful state, isn't it? Like, yeah. I mean, they say ignorance is bliss, right? And I completely agree. Like if your brain couldn't even understand it. It reminds me of Kobe Bryant saying, I don't get lazy people. We just don't talk the same language. I don't understand what they're saying. Right?
Yeah, it's like you going to a different planet. You're like, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't even know that. Like,
can you help me understand how you navigate this? Because I admittedly find that I can be so focused and rigid and serving Brad the being, and not being knocked off of that path for quite some time. But then every once in a while, I'll be challenged again by the external. And here's what comes up for me is someone will ask me how I am. And my response now for, I would say over a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, is one of two words. I say I'm unstoppable, or I say I'm remarkable. And a lot of people not a lot of people, I should say, people have come to me and they say, you can't be that way all the time.
Mhm.
And in my head, I want to go, well, yeah, it's a choice. It's a mindset that I'm choosing. But I allow for them to kind of, break me a bit. And I go, oh yeah, well, you're right. I guess I'm not all the time. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm assuming when most people ask you, you don't give the generic, socially quote unquote acceptable answer of, hey, Francis, how are you? Good. And then on to the next thing. It's almost just like it's an obligated answer.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you answer something like unstoppable or remarkable or whatever it is that you use to express your emotions in that moment, and I'm assuming majority of the time it is on a higher vibrational level.
Yeah.
If someone challenges that, how do you navigate that? Or do you ever experience that at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I actually asked myself this question too this week. We spent, I'm also part of a group coaching program. And there's someone, if people are familiar with Landmark, this woman was a Landmark instructor for 30 years in Netherlands. And we spent 2 hours on integrity and 2 hours on authenticity. Whoa. And the obstacle for people to be integral and to be and which is keeping your word, and then there's a distinction of honoring it, and then of being authentic is that we make it wrong, we make ourselves wrong if we're not integral or if we're not authentic. So there's a judgment that is the obstacle, and so we blend morality with a fact. Are you integral? Yes, no, because it's just a matter of workability. And then authentic, are you really truly authentic? And so in that answer, I say for me, my goal is to be as authentic as possible. So and only I am knowing if it's true or not. So if I'm feeling like shit and I'm saying I'm fantastic, I believe that there's going to be a discordance of in the field. But I could say I'm good, could be better, and I'm creating this. I'm trying to be as authentic as possible in my answer because I feel it myself. There's an inner crisis inside me, or inner conflict, and I can create myself as I am fantastic and I am unstoppable in my daily affirmation if they're connected to my source code. So there's some, we can talk about hours on just what I just mentioned, but authenticity I think is important because there's a cost to it. It's being able to fully express ourselves, because am I saying this because I'm afraid of saying really how I feel? Or am I saying this because it's true? And I think that what if we can live in a world where we're really authentic, and how would that look like?
What comes up for me when you share? Sorry, finish your thought. Pardon me.
I would say, let's say I feel, I could say I'm working on building my business. And is it true? Yes. Do I feel frustrated about my growth? Yes. The reality, is it true to say that I'm building or creating my business? Yeah, that feels authentic to me to say that. I don't need to regurgitate and vomit also all the reasons why I'm not feeling, I'm just answering. And that's what when this woman was saying, you can just say, I've been better. And how are you? Like, I'm creating this, like you're being authentic, or, so it's really verifying with you, what's your feeling? Is it really true? Am I lying to myself? And I know that we've been really conditioned to never say that you're not feeling good. Never say that. This is wrong. And so, and I'm not saying, oh, while you're talking about me, yeah, this is what's happening in my life. It's really bad. And then people are like, whoa, I didn't subscribe to that. I just wanted to know how are you?
Yeah, I don't actually care how you are. I just wanted you to tell me good so we can move on to the next question about the weather.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So what comes up for me is is it Good to Great? I'm sure you've read it, where he talks about the Stockdale paradox and how Jim Stockdale, the prisoner of war, just never gave up hope. He wasn't ignorant to the fact that he wasn't a prisoner of war. He just would never give up hope that one day he would be free again. And the way that I look at it, the paradigm, the lens that I look through is that no matter what is happening around me, for me, there's something that I can pull out of that situation that is a positive. I figure that's a skill that I've been given from the day that I dropped into this body, was I can have just stubbed my toe. My son is crying. He just peed his pants. The chicken's burning. It looks like all hell's breaking loose, but I can find something in that moment to be grateful for, to say that it's actually remarkable. Everything that's happening is remarkable. But whereas I think that challenges most people because they feel, and again, I'll use that they feel that how's that possible? How can you sit here, Brad, and say this is great? It almost causes frustration or friction within them because your chicken's burning, your son just peed his pants, you just stopped. Like, how can you be happy? How can you be remarkable?
Man, thank you so much for saying that. I wanted to talk about it, and that's gratitude. You got it.
Mm,
Like I think, and if people want to be truly moved by something, her name is Nightbird as a singer. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's
no.
and she sings, and she's got 2% chance of surviving a cancer. And she sings a song that's called "It's Okay." And oh my God, like you would be truly emotional watching this. And actually, I'm going to read the quote that she said, and that's so powerful. We'll go back to gratitude. And
Yeah,
she said, oh my, where is it? It's okay. Do I have, where did I put this? It was, okay, I believe it's here. Okay. You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. Bam. You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. You're like,
Well, that goes back to my very first point of this, of you saying the being, right? I can't just be on it's not only when I'm on vacation that I can actually express love to my partner. It's not only when my daughter acts the way that I want her to act, do we quote unquote connect, right? I think we have to, as humans, we have to be able to, amongst everything that's going on around us and for us and happening for us, we have to be able to say, God, how lucky am I even to be here right now and be experiencing
exactly.
this?
And that would be authentic. So if you know that's why I thank you, brother. It recentered me into, if someone's asking you a question, you feel like you're not feeling good. I guess you can just go back to, instead of answering something that quote unquote is just a default, is like, yeah, I'm great. You can just pause a little bit and just say, you know what? Grateful. I'm alive.
Mm.
I'm great because I'm alive right now. Would that
Yeah,
feel
I love
authentic?
that. I love that.
Yeah,
And you know
it's
what? Because
authentic. You know what?
yeah,
Like this girl that said that you can't wait until then you're realizing, you know what? She had 2% chance of surviving, and she actually passed away. And now I'm alive.
yeah.
So you know what? Thank you as a good reminder. Yes, I'm feeling great. I'm alive.
Mm.
That feels good. Like that feels 100% true because the reality is you are alive.
Hmm.
That good? Yes, that's great.
Yeah. That's
I'm
probably
talking
that's
about my
actually
circumstances. I'm
yeah.
great. I'm alive.
Yeah. And I would say that even is remarkable, or any other word that you want to
Yeah.
use, right?
From the context of I'm alive and I'm grateful to be here. Yes, absolutely. So now it feels very, very authentic. So
Yeah.
thanks to this, now I'm going to say, yeah, at times where I don't feel really good, I'm just going to pause and say, you know what? If I really do my blessing in a matter of fraction of a second, and I have this flash of this night bird, then yes, I'm great. I'm alive.
Hmm. I actually just got a tattoo not that long ago. I won't show it on camera because it's in a discreet place, but it's on my thigh, and it's the Stoic philosophy of memento mori, which I'll paraphrase a bit, but essentially Marcus Aurelius said, you could leave life right now, so let that dictate what you say and what you do. And it's this the actual tattoo itself that I got. It's three images essentially. It's the flower representing life. It's the sands of time representing our time, and then a skull representing death. And I look at it every day now, and I love it because it's such a beautiful piece. But it's it like drops me into my reality that this could be the last breakfast. This could
Yes.
be the last time I drop my kids off at school. And I've said this numerous times on my podcast, and to anyone else that will listen, is I don't believe that's a morbid thing. I think it's actually a beautiful thing because when
Uh-huh.
I drop into the fact that this is not given. I am mortal. it really changes the way that I interact with you when I have time with you for an hour. It really changes the way that I show up for my son when he is peeing his pants and having a tantrum. He doesn't always pee his pants, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
I just love like what you shared from Nightbird and that quote from the song and other images or external things that we can touch base with that allow us to go back inside and go, wow, how lucky am I just to be here right now?
That's another big lesson since we've last talked is I realized, and going back to this first initial conversation about the gap, I was focused on the gap. So I was more prone to look at what's missing, really making my journey miserable. And two distinctions are very important. The purpose of a goal, that's what I'm teaching to people. And I know it now, and I know that I made a mistake, is that the purpose of a goal is not to achieve it. The purpose of the goal is to grow. So if it becomes the purpose that the only reason why, and you choose something that's a fantasy, meaning something that excites you from your heart, like a burning desire. When you have that, you're like, yes, I want it. That'd be amazing. And I'm working every day to progress. And then in that progress, there's joy because you're growing. You're like, I'm better than yesterday. This is amazing. I was able to to let go my fear. I was able to go through it. I was able to grow in that. Then chances are you're going to get to your goal a lot faster than just always just focusing on this goal. And what helped me to go there was really gratitude. Like I'm doing daily gratitude now. It just centers me to, there's another great video by Brother something, but it's 5 minutes and it's really just about being grateful. And it goes back to something very as simple as the water you're drinking. And I came back from India maybe a month ago and I realized, holy crap, if I would tell my problems to a lot of the people in India and say, this is what I'm going through, and then they'd say, you know what, just switch, man, switch. I'll take it. I'll take it. And you realize they don't have running water the same way we do. Like they probably don't even have a shower that's as long as we have, with the temperature that we have. And the air quality in Mumbai was very different from the air quality that we have in Canada. Like it's just, you're realizing, oh my God, just for air that's free, I'm so happy. I can breathe well. And then water, oh my God, thank you. And you see the metal things that they create with a house or whatever. You're like, man, this is the conditions that I don't even know when was the last time they had a shower. There's a guy like during this event that we went to, he kind of brought a little girl that was selling heart, and he brought her sister in a Uber and a cab. That was the first time that this girl at 24 years old was experiencing being in a car, was experiencing going into a restaurant and ordering and something that comes to you, going in a bathroom that there's the automatic, and playing with it like, oh, what is this thing? Shoo. And like first time when you're 24 years old. So it really centers you back to, man, there's so much I can be grateful for. So now in a way, when I looked at that, and you're really comparing yourself with these people, imagine that you're telling your story and you're complaining about your own life, and they, like I said, we want to switch it. So now, because we know that we're not switching and it's not possible to it like this, then what is our responsibility to use what we have to the fullest? And I thought, man, like with what I have, would they use it to the max? Like they're probably stretching it like 3 times what they have. And I'm complaining and playing small, like not even my 100% of my gifts. Like it's with what I'm giving. It's almost like, that you like, let's say you're, I think it's Kyle Cease that said that, you have Michael Jackson that sings and he doesn't know that he's Michael Jackson, but he's Michael Jackson and he's thinking he's playing small. You're like, dude, you're Michael Jackson. Or Kobe Bryant, like, dude, why are you playing in a minor league right now? You're Kobe. It's like it would be an insult to these people that are like, dude, like, I mean, I'm playing in a minor league. You not belong here. And it's almost like the other movie. What's the name of it? With Good Will Hunting. Remember that scene when he's just saying, dude, like, I'll kill you if you're still in the construction site.
Yeah.
Like what you have, Like, what are you doing? Like, we would do anything to have what you have. So use it.
Yeah. Yeah, what a powerful scene, and what a like, and like from a friend to a friend, to tell him like, I'll literally kill you if you're here next year. Like, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, I'll kill you. Like, yeah, amazing. Yeah, and you know what? I also feel like through that process, and I picture you going to India and seeing and witnessing all of what you did in regards to the dramatic differences between your reality, our reality, and the majority of the population there, is also having a bit of empathy for yourself as well, because you only know what you know, right? um but exposing ourselves and being open to learning from other people allows for us perhaps to go, you know what, there are other perspectives, there are other quote unquote bad days, and the
Mhm.
majority of us here, especially you and I, we're white males in North America. I mean,
Yeah.
life is pretty good, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad that we're vibing on the same frequency, because as I said that, I said maybe it was, and I said that that could be a wake up call for some to hear that, and also what's important is really having forgiveness for ourselves, you know.
Hmm.
So it might just be a place where you're realizing, because the reality is we're so much more than we think. And so in the process of finding your source code, what's very important when you clean it is to forgive yourself for the judgment that you had about yourself. Really forgiving that, because there was events in your life that made you see the scene of the incident, perceiving it in a certain way, which is only you that can perceive it this way, and then creating a story that's only your story. Like, you could see the same thing and you're seeing it from the left angle, I'm seeing from the right. I don't see the color that you saw, but I'm making a story with it. You're making a different story. At the end of the day, the event is neutral, but I'm perceiving it a certain way. You're perceiving it a certain way. You're creating a story. You're putting meaning to it. I put meaning to it. And then in that incident, I'm creating a judgment about myself. So
Mm.
I'll give you, and then we have to forgive that, because that was just a pure invention. It was a made up thing by you, nobody else. So one of the things that I talk to my clients about, and I give this example, is, let's say, Brad, you have kind of a blue shirt right now. Let's define it as one color. And I go to you and I say, Brad, your red shirt sucks, man. Yeah, you're gonna look at your shirt and say, well, not really red. So thank you for sharing, man. Have a good day. Like, it doesn't even change your mood. You're like still far off, you know? You're like, hey. But then if I say, hey, your blue shirt sucks, man, you might say, hmm. You look at it, you're like, you know what? I really like it. Like, every time, like, you're the only one out of a million that told me it sucks, and I feel great in it. So thank you for sharing, and you move on. But what if I say, your red blue shirt sucks, man? And then you're like, maybe you're right. So in those three cases, it was always just very neutral. And then in that moment, you can start to say, oh, I'm not looking good. I am not looking good. That's the judgment. Or it could be, I'm not fitting this party, or I'm not fitting, I'm not whatever this is. And that I am, that way of being, was purely invented, because you could have said, oh, like I said, it doesn't matter. Like, even if we're talking on the same color, you're like, no, I'm great. Or you're saying, I'm not looking good. And so if you, at a moment in your life where it was very critical, that you didn't know how to mind words, and you didn't know that you had a perception, you created the story, you could have started to create yourself as, I'm not looking good. Now, with that, you're starting to create strategies to make sure that you're going to look good. And so you're like, oh, and you're afraid of not looking good. So, that could be, well, I'm going to have the best grades, because if I have the best grades, I'm looking good. Nobody's going to laugh at me. I'm not ever going to be told this. And then you create some sort of a winning formula that works for a little while, but then you also get stuck, because you're not going to act if you have the risk of not looking good. But it was all an invention that started a long time ago, and it was your code.
Mm.
That was your code. So now you can start to remove that and say, I forgive myself for judging myself as I'm not good enough or not looking good enough. Because the truth is, what's the truth? And then you find it by yourself. You're going to have your own truth. You're going to say it in an I am statement that resonates with you. And this whatever I am that you're choosing now is going to be the real affirmation, if you want to call it this way, that really is going to mean something to you because it's related to something that you told yourself so long and that you had forgiven yourself with. That's what I spent like 3 days and a half with my coach, really looking at all the disempowering conversations I had about myself, the way that I was listening to myself and judging myself. And I cleaned it. And I'm still seeing, like now I'm aware of it. Like there's a lot of lines that I'm aware of. And I can see, oh, okay, that's running again. Okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna clean that again. And I don't make myself wrong. I was so good at making myself wrong. It's like, damn it. Yeah, I know, but geez. But then you're still running indirectly. I'm not good enough. You're like, yeah, but I made that mistake, man.
Mm. I love the idea of like what you said earlier about we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, and those of you listening, you can be listening right now to my voice, and you can have another thought going on in your head. And it just shows you that there are literally two different things. There's the being of you listening to my voice right now, or Francis, but you could also be thinking about, oh, did I change the laundry over? Or is it still in the washers? And you go to the dryer. Like you can be having those thoughts while, you know, partially listening to this. And I'm so intrigued. Like you said, you're shortening that divide and that understanding. You get it now. Okay, I can see how I am not those things and how that shows up in your probably professional life, your personal life as well. But I want to understand more about what's transpired for you since we last spoke. It sounds like you've done a lot of um, leveling up your awareness, your internal awareness of who you are and your being. And I want to take the next, we got about 15-20 minutes here. I want to take that time really to I want to understand what's transpired for you, the growth that you are currently still experiencing. And then I really want to understand more about your goals that you have as you grow.
Thank you. Great question. I'm the guy that you said still experiencing. Yeah, there's no top in a mountain.
Yeah.
It's like, and once you realize that, it feels good because you know you're like, oh, I don't need to. I just like I can be happy in the journey. So, I mean, for me, it transformed obviously the way that I'm coaching. Like I feel like it's what number comes to mind is 10x. I'm not listening in the same way. I can pay attention to the patterns of the words that my people are my people. I said that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like it's are my people, my clients, and I love it because I love humans so much because I realize, oh my God, like this is even if someone's mean, because I'm like, this is just the code being done. Like it's and I don't judge. I don't judge as much, and I get to have an impact on where they're running it, and it's fascinating to see, and it's so rewarding. Like one of my clients said last week, he said, "Man, it's priceless. Like I wish people would know that." I'm like, I know. Like once you start to see it, you're like, oh, I'm running it here and here and here and here. It's unbelievable. And for him, it was what was it? I have to take a look at it because it's really interesting and it's so very personal. Like it's not the event is what occurs, but what you tell yourself. So he was giving himself this code of I'm not worth people's time. And the reason why he told himself was, and it took like a little bit of a deep dive, and it was that his parents were always out of the house and they were working, and he was alone when he was young, and so he could have told himself so many different things, right? So many different things, and so usually people are aware of more of their strategy. So for him, like as soon as they came home and they asked questions, it was out because I'm not worth your time, then you're not worth my time. So, and if you don't pay attention to me, my strategy is I leave. And so, and it started with a conversation about him and his girlfriend. And he said, yeah, I'd like to. I said, where are you hiding these days? And so, because that was the theme, and that's really cool. And so he said, well, I'm not committed to really communicating with my girlfriend right now. And then we went back to this event by asking all these questions. So now and he was kind of frustrated that she was not committed or paying attention to him and something. And guess what? He's not in communication now, because that's what he does. And he realized, oh, and if you're saying I'm not worth somebody's time, guess what the impact could be? And he's an amazing Iron Man. Like, he's so good at what he does in personal fitness. So if he's making a conversation, sell conversation, or enrolling someone into his program, but deep down there's something like, I'm not worth people's time, guess what's going to win? And what type of outcome you're going to run out of this? If I'm picking the phone and I'm calling you, and internally I'm thinking I'm not worth your time.
Hmm.
So to answer your question with that example, is I feel so happy, privileged that I can help people to find that out. And now I can do it in a setting where I can spend a day, or I can spend like hours with it, and that's my game. That's what I'm playing, and doing it also with corporate executives, because I'm realizing also that it's really simple when you think about it. It's like I said, it's not about the doing, and it could be with listening. And so, and that's communication. So that's another important point. And I would ask people right now, like, so the communication never, like, before you even talk, there's a listening, and you said it yourself, like, you can listen, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. But if someone calls you, one of your friend, you're listening in a way that's very different from another friend. And so it's interesting to see that how we listen, and how we listen really creates the communication even before you start. Because if you're calling me and I'm super excited, I'm going to create like a very different outcome out of this. Hey, Brad, how's it going? But if it's another one and I don't want to answer, I'm already judging and listening in a way, oh, that's not worth my time, or whatever it is. And now I'm creating a very different thing. So can we be able to be empty with no filters as much as possible in the way that we talk? That can transform relationships. Like, you can ask yourself, how am I listening to my wife? How am I listening to my friend XYZ? You can say, oh, my voice, if you listen, my voice is always asking me something to do. what type of outcome are you going to create in relationship? And so I'm excited about doing that also for corporate, just to help them to be aware of their filters and be aware of the source code, really. And the third thing I'm excited about is I haven't fully defined it yet, but creating a global network that goes global, meaning that having events that we would take the time to really go through the source code, and having ways to release it with modalities like breath work and maybe a cacao ceremony to open your heart and make it a fun experience. And so it could be retreats, or it could be just like these gatherings of like-minded people that truly want to be fully self-expressed, being free by their code, and live from an authentic place. That's what I would like to create. And I love to travel, and I'm so blessed that I've created really good friendships all over the world, and being able to do that like in different places, almost like as if you're lighting a fire in all these places, and then you can get like this one event that is global as well, because most of the events right now are always in the same place, but it's not really traveling. And you're the first one to know, but I thought about, the word reset. Reset event. That's where you go in and you create meaningful relationships with people that will be raw and authentic, and they'll share their things, and they'll help each other as well. There's going to be a mastermind component to it. And I think I'll be playing on stage. I love that. I just love to share my stories, have fun, and then do these exercises where people are going to feel like, oh my God, I'm on fire. That's where I'm at.
That sounds so powerful. And I'm assuming this will resonate with you, but feel free to tell me if it doesn't. Yesterday, I was facilitating a meeting for a leadership group, and it was almost during the day, there were moments where I wasn't even this is going to sound a bit existential. I wasn't even in the room.
Mhm.
It was just coming through me.
Yeah.
And it was, there was no filter. It was just 100%, pardon me, authenticity of what was coming through me was being expressed. And there were no, oh, I wonder what they're going to think, or is this silly? And man, oh man, I was exhausted by the end of the day, but was my cup ever full? Help me understand, for you when you're working, is that true? Do you find yourself just like dropping into this state where it's just, I guess, flow state almost, where there is no judgment, self-judgment, no inner voices. It's just you being.
I had this with you today. Like, I think when I feel it in my body when I have these chills, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, something happened. Or even when you mentioned gratitude, I was thinking about gratitude before. So I'm thinking, oh, this is so in flow.
Mm,
And it feels great. Like, it feels, and I've had these moments, and I think I'm by being fully authentic is that I'm more and more willing to make mistakes. And frequently I would just be in my calls and say, this has occurred to me. And I'm just going to say what it is. Like, that type of connection where you feel the information that comes in. It's almost like you ding, like a little rock on your window. You're like, whoa, that was
yeah.
a thought. Okay, I'm going to share it. And I don't wait. I don't wait for it. And that feels so good when you can just express, knowing that your way of being is compassion and love, of course, right?
Mhm.
It's not, oh, I'm going to judge you and I'm going to tell you something. So, and I think that in your way of being, what we said initially, people feel that what you're saying is not to destroy, not to manipulate. It's not to, it's really because it adds up to something and you're there to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. For me,
And I
that's
would
very much
assume
that.
that you're someone that serves, and you're not looking for validation, or you're there to serve. You're going to say what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear. Because if you tell them what they want to hear, you're pleasing, and that's your story, instead of being really serving and saying something that will impact, to
Mhm.
the risk of even severing a relationship because the person is not going to take it. That's
Yeah.
being powerful. That's being fearless.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for me, it's always, when I wake up in the morning, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, my MO for the whole day is serving and impact, like service and impact throughout the day. It's just, that's running in the back of my mind. How can I serve? How can I impact? And something else come up for me when you were just sharing that was this idea of radical responsibility.
Mm.
And what I mean by that, my interpretation of that is, I'm going to offer for you to fully own your experience of you and I today. And whether I was 5 minutes late or the technology didn't exist, I could apologize because that's probably a kind thing to do. But that's also me almost projecting onto you of your experience. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to waste your time. And whereas you're sitting there going, and again, I'm just kind of projecting a story here, but you're sitting there going like, no, I'm fine. Like, it's all good. I actually had a moment to write some notes or just be peaceful or grab some tea or whatever it may be. And I love this concept of just taking radical responsibility for my experience. You take radical responsibility for your experience. Disclaimer, that doesn't mean that I get to be an asshole and always be late and make sure that my camera's not where, all those things.
Mhm.
But I love the concept, and I'm sure if you come up against this or if you heard it or if you even subscribe to it, of encouraging my clients and also myself and maybe even my family of this idea of just like radical responsibility. You own your experience in this, because I know that I'm coming to this space with nothing but good intention to serve and impact.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a little bit about integrity in that. And I question
Mm.
myself, like, I about being integrity. The biggest problem that I've had with the integrity for myself was that I really always mixed it with morality. So in that example of being late is, if you exclude morality and it's just a fact. So if you're late, you're integral. You're not integral. Like, you're not integrity. But again, it's not bad. It's just a fact. It's not
Mm,
workable. That's what it
mm,
means. So
mhm,
now from that, you say, and I'll make sure the next time I put in my agenda, it's not going to happen. How can I make this up to you? If there's an impact, is there an impact? And then I honor my word.
mhm.
And it's being big. Like, I think practicing our integrity is so important, which is also practicing our commitment to our word and our creation.
Mhm.
And that's more important to practice that, to the risk of failing, as opposed to being afraid of committing to something and keeping our word. What's more
Mhm.
important is honoring our word.
Mhm.
That's a whole thing. Like it's takes practice. It takes
Yeah.
practice. And I think that once you start to become radically responsible for your word and being committed to that, you're living a whole different type of life.
Absolutely. There's
And
a,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
to go back to one concept, and maybe that's interjecting with what you had in mind, but it's not letting external circumstances define who you are and define your choices. That's what I'm really working on.
Mhm.
How can I create nothing from something from nothing?
Mhm. Exactly.
Because you
Yeah,
look
that's just
at,
it.
that's just a choice, and people that were able to create huge things in their lives were able to take an idea and enroll other people into it and create a way to make it happen. Not
Mhm.
everyone had the money, not everyone had the time, but they found the solution and they were responsible for it. And they didn't let the, oh, I don't have time, I don't have money, to before making a decision. What was really important first is, do I really want it? Yes. Then am I committed to like, choose, pick a lane. And Matthew McConaughey had a really good podcast with Dean Graciosi this week. And I like the way he put it. He said, just go find out.
Yeah.
Choose, go find out.
Mhm.
And then if you find out that it was not about turning left, it was about turning right, well, now you know. If
Mhm.
you turn left and then you have people critiquing you and people telling you you're stupid, well, you just found out who's on your side and who's not. There you go. So then you just go find out. And it's
Mhm.
it's such a, being in action is being powerful. And my coach is always saying, there's a difference between insight and action. Are you really taking action based on the insights that you got, like even from listening to this podcast? Is there something that you can commit yourself to do from this? Otherwise, it's just kind of a massage,
Mhm.
in your head. I was about to use another word, but
Yeah, you can say masturbation. Yeah, that's fine.
exactly. You got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
We're
got
on
it.
the same frequency. You just
Yeah.
felt it.
We're on the masturbation frequency. Yeah,
Exactly.
actually, an exercise that I use with my clients, and it's not masturbation, but an exercise that I use with my clients is, and this is majority of my clients now that I'm serving are business leaders and individuals in business, is I'll get a whiteboard out and I'll draw a line down the middle of it, and on one side I'll write FACTS, facts, and the other
Mhm.
side I'll write stories, and I'll just ask them, okay, let's just pause right now. The quote unquote issue that we're talking about, I want you to tell me what's factual, and then I want to tell you
Love
all of the
that.
stories that you're coming up with. Because sure, was I 5 minutes late? Fact, Brad was 5 minutes late. What stories are you now telling yourself? He doesn't respect my time, he's unorganized, he's unprofessional, all of these things that come from the fact that he was 5 minutes late. So I love that delineation and really sitting there and putting it in people's faces, for lack of a better term. Let them see, hey guys, here are the actual facts. I shouldn't say guys. Hey team, here are the facts. And then what are the stories that we're creating? And it's actually healthy in relationship as well with myself and my partner, where I'll sit down and pause and go, okay, what are the facts here? The facts are, she just said something to me, her face is in a certain shape, and that shape, I'm making stories, but all it is just her face is in a certain shape. That's the
Yeah.
fact. And
Yeah.
then I'm making up all these stories. Oh, this is what it means. Oh, she hates me. Oh, she doesn't love me. Oh, she thinks I'm a lesser of a man because, and it's amazing. It's a very powerful exercise to sit down and pause for a second and just look at the facts versus the stories.
Can I steal that? I love it.
Please do. Yeah, I'm sure I borrowed it from someone else as well. And like I said, I would, whether it's someone I'm working with again in person using a whiteboard, or anyone listening right now, or even your clients, if you're doing something remotely, just have them take a piece of paper, draw that line down the middle, and just say, okay, the topic that we're discussing right now, I just want you to write down on one side facts and one side stories, and let's just see how it shakes out. And we just distill it down to that separation of, again, looking at, it's just the external stuff that we're allowing for, to use your terminology, to then all of a sudden source code just starts running again. Oh, this is what it means.
Yeah.
I'm being disrespected. I don't
Exactly.
like what that means, and I demand to be respected. And it's just like pump the brakes a little bit. Just look at the facts. The fact is it's raining outside. Everything else is just a story, right?
Exactly. And it helps it up to objectify everything like in a way that it's very objective. It's not, there's no emotions to it. When you just start to realize that, it's so much easier to deal with it.
Hmm.
And to be aware of, like you said, or the judgment that people have, the story, source code. Like I've realized myself, like, there was a friend of mine that I didn't talk for months, and it bothered me, and I did a lot of forgiveness, burned a lot of sheets of paper of letter of forgiveness. I'm like, why is it still showing up? Like, there's something inside. There's a poison. Why is it still like, damn? And then I realized it was not. Like at first, it's like he's ignoring me,
Hmm.
which hurt. And then I'm like, no, he's maybe that's rejection. And then I got it thanks to a dream that I had, which was, past relationship. And really what was hurting me was not that he rejected or anything. It was really that I felt that I was abandoned. Very different, because I could be rejected in sales with people that I don't know. Who cares? But if I have a relationship that involves like loving and friendship, then I felt abandoned. And then I saw, oh, that's the code. And and it's not like he said, Francis, I am abandoning you. He just stopped to communicate. That was a fact.
Right.
And then I created the story with it. And I thought, oh, geez, man. Oh, I was just feeling abandoned. Okay, I forgive you. That's not the case. And he didn't. It was just space that we had for each other. And then and here's the funny thing is that I think a couple of days after, he called because it was actually cleaned. And he called with one of my friend on FaceTime, and it was as if we had good times, the three of us laughing our ass off. Like no, like it was amazing. And so
How
forgiveness is
powerful.
also another big thing, and it helps to really identify what are the facts and what are the stories.
Hmm.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no, thank you for being open to me sharing that. And yeah, please feel free to repurpose that in your personal life, but also with your clients. It's just, and again, it's not my tool. And I feel like I should probably give a shout out to where it came from, but I can't remember where I saw it or heard it. But it's just such a powerful exercise, and the power is in the simplicity of it,
Yeah,
right? I think that's what I'm learning about business, what I'm learning about love, what I'm learning about life is we just need to the code is actually really simple, right? But we as humans make it so complicated. I don't know how many people you ask nowadays, how are you? And they'll say again, either good or they'll say, oh, I'm so busy. Like everyone's busy right now, but it's just, what are you doing? What are we actually doing? And there's again so much distraction out there. It's like that cowboy on the horse where we don't actually even know where we're going. And I fear for myself in those days where I may stray a little bit. But again, I'm shortening that gap of that level of awareness and saying, oh, no, no, no. Okay. You're on the horse. You're in charge. You steer back on that path and start going towards what truly serves your inner calling.
yeah,
Um, again, I want to respect your time, but I really do feel like we could do this for 3 hours. I'm so
yeah.
intrigued and impressed by you and what you've done and what you continue to do. And I take so much inspiration from what you share online. I sit there and I just stare at it, and the messages just really, really resonate to like the marrow of my bones. So thank you
Oh,
for
man, thank
sharing
you.
what's inside of you with all of
I
us.
feel you're very authentic, and I want to acknowledge you too to create these things and share. This is your time to help others, and it's amazing. I see you. I see you. I feel you. I feel that it's very authentic from your part, and that's awesome to see how we've evolved in these years, like little connections that now we get to understand, and it's beautiful. I know you stand for people being free and people being empowered, and you do it with leaders. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you for those words. I appreciate that. Before I do let you go, I want to make sure everyone has the knowledge of how to reach out to you if they wanted to engage. Where do you find yourself? Is it social media? Is it your website? Where best can they reach out?
Yeah, they can go Francis at francispiche.com. That's my email address. They can
Mhm.
do that. For the Instagram, it's Piche Francis.
Mhm.
So Francis Piche was not available. I think from that, and then the website's francispiche.com. So it's all Francis at francispiche.com, or website francispiche.com, and Instagram Piche Francis. And
Beautiful. We'll put
I
that
do
in
some stuff on Facebook, but it's all the links are on Instagram, and yeah, that's what it is. Thank you
we'll
so
put
much, brother.
Yeah, no, thank you. We'll put that in the show notes for sure. And before I officially let you go back to your day, I want to know, be as succinct as you want to, or put a long tail on the kite. What inspires you today? What inspires you in this moment? Where do you seek inspiration from?
What inspires me today? I'm just gonna say, for what the coaching call I had today with my coach, it was just let go. That's what comes to mind. Let go.
What are you letting go of?
Letting go of, and it was there's another way you can say it, and I like give something up, giving my story up of I'm an imposter. I'm letting it go totally, and I'm playing a bigger game. And so what it means is that I'm going to be willing to mess up. And really it's self-love in a way, because you're just saying, no, I am absolutely amazing. Yes, I don't have billions in my bank account yet. That doesn't matter. We're all on the journey, and we can all help each other by, if I'm 5 steps ahead, I can help my brother 5 steps below, and there's other people ahead of me that will help me to climb. We're all in the same, journey of, I think, rediscovering who we really are. And who we really are is love, compassion, unlimited power. And that's it.
Beautiful. And I lied. My last question for you is, how can I support you? How can I help you? What can I do to fan your flame, push you, hold you accountable, be there along your side as you grow?
Thank you. Well, we've already done it. The time that we spent is purely amazing. Now that I'm thinking of, with what I have in mind for my game, share it when it's time. And if I say, can you share this experience, what I'm creating as an event, that would be great to share it to some people. I believe that to democratize the way that we can have access to our source code would be really amazing. And I think that even to do it to an extent that it would help people that are younger, because man, if we knew how the mind works at a young age, we would not be suffering as much. I think it would be such an amazing gift for these kids.
Yeah. Can you imagine I mean, obviously our path is our path, our journey is our journey, and we're here right now as 2 men. But I still feel like, I don't know if this resonates with you, but I still feel like I'm that 12-year-old boy inside. Like I go into meetings now. I have a Lululemon backpack. I wear a backpack into my meetings, because to me it's my brand, meaning, yes, I'm serious. Yes, I'm professional, but let's all not try and kid ourselves. We are still those kids inside. We're just pretending like, we know what we're doing. But
100%.
man, how beautiful is this awakening, is this awareness? And again, I want to celebrate the investments that you've made in yourself and the journey that you've gone on. I think if anyone's looking to invest in any coach, whether it's you, me, or Sally, or whoever it is, first thing you should ask them is, when's the last time you invested in yourself? And you are someone who not only talks the talk, but you walk the walk. And your journey to seek education is only going to allow for you to serve those around you even more. So I want to celebrate that and say it inspires me to watch you be such a student of life, because it's people like you who can truly help others, because you are so committed to better understanding and asking questions along your journey. So
wow, I fully receive it. I fully receive it. Thank you. That was beautiful acknowledgement. I see you too, man. Thank you so much for inviting me, and sending lots of love to all the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in as you do week after week. It means the world to me. Otherwise, it would just be Francis and myself chatting, but that would be beautiful as well. But it was nice. It was nice to have you all along for the journey, joining us. And if you feel like this conversation would impact someone else, it would mean the world to Francis and myself for you to share that with them. Otherwise, that's Francis. I am Brad. You guys know what to do. Until next time, be good and do good. That's it, dude. We did it. Well done.
Amazing.
Easy.
Easy, easy, easy.